Life doesn't always unfold the way we expect, and sometimes it feels as if the world is pushing every possible challenge into the narrowest corners of our days, testing our patience, our inner balance, and the strength of our character. You might find yourself blamed for things you never did, misunderstood by people who never cared to listen, or forced into decisions you never had the time to process. There are moments when anger boils inside you, rising so quickly and so fiercely that your instinct tells you to strike back instantly, because reacting feels like the fastest way to reclaim control. But if you pause, even for a breath, you may realize that not every emotional spark deserves to become a wildfire, and not every chaotic moment is truly as disastrous as your mind insists. Life often mirrors the turbulence within us, and what feels like chaos might actually be a quiet invitation to see yourself from a different angle. You may be caught in difficult conversations, situations where someone's words cut deeper than they should, moments where your dignity or intentions feel questioned. But beneath all of that turbulence lies a truth that many overlook. The world isn't always attacking you. Sometimes it is simply revealing where your strength still sleeps, waiting to be awakened. We live in a time where people rush to respond, where speed is valued over clarity, where instant reactions are mistaken for strength, and where silence is misinterpreted as weakness. Yet some of the most powerful transformations happen in the space between the trigger and how you choose to act. That space, small, fragile, often ignored, is where your true power resides. It is in that moment of stillness that you decide whether to let the world control you or to walk forward, guided by intention. Within that space, you discover that you don't need to match anyone's anger. You don't need to justify your worth. You don't need to react just because circumstances demand it. You begin to see that your peace is not something to be negotiated. It is something to be protected. And in that clarity, the noise of the world becomes less threatening. You begin to notice that people who attack are often carrying wounds they have never healed. Those who judge quickly often fear being judged themselves. Those who pressure you to react immediately often feel powerless in their own lives. Understanding this doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it frees you from carrying emotional weight that isn't yours. As you continue navigating these moments, you might feel a strange sense of awakening inside you, an awareness that life is not punishing you, but preparing you. These challenges shape your emotional endurance, your patience, your wisdom, and your ability to stay centered even when life screams from every direction. It is in these trials that you learn how not to crumble every time the world pushes you, because deep inside, you are growing roots strong enough to withstand any storm. And speaking of strength and clarity, if you find reflections like these meaningful, take a moment, right in the middle of this message, to subscribe to ARS Spiritual Vibes and leave a thoughtful comment to support the growth of content that helps people reconnect with their inner calm. Doing so helps the channel reach others who are struggling silently and need guidance to find peace within their own storms. Your presence and engagement are part of a much larger ripple that may touch lives you'll never meet. Returning to the heart of this reflection, consider how many of life's fiercest storms were not meant to destroy you, but to strip away illusions that no longer serve your journey. Stress has a way of forcing truth to the surface. Confusion has a way of pushing you to clarity. Pain has a way of revealing what your heart truly needs. Life may bend you, but it is rarely trying to break you. It is teaching you to stand with a stronger posture, to see with clearer eyes, and to feel with a wiser heart. When accusations come without reason, let them pass through the wind of your stillness. When situations force quick choices, breathe before you decide. When anger arises unexpectedly, let it be a signal rather than a command. You are not here to be controlled by your emotions. You are here to master them. And mastery does not come from reacting. It comes from understanding, observing, and responding with intention. Life is always whispering something beneath the noise, urging you to rise above the chaos, to listen to the quiet truth within, and to walk with dignity even when everything around you tries to pull you into disorder. Nothing is random. Every moment is carving your character into something stronger, something clearer, something more aligned with the path meant only for you.
Life has a way of testing us at the least expected moments, as if the universe is constantly measuring the depth of our patience, the structure of our intentions, and the stability of our emotional foundations. There will always be people who misunderstand you, misjudge you, or project their frustrations onto your presence, without ever taking a moment to pause and reflect on their own internal storms. There will be situations where unexpected pressures push themselves into your day, demanding results in seconds, even though your mind is still catching up to the reality unfolding before your eyes. And in these moments, when the world seems to move faster than your ability to breathe, the temptation to react becomes incredibly strong. A reaction is effortless. It springs from impulse, from heat, from confusion, from wounds you have not yet fully healed. But a response, a true response, requires an inner stillness that can only be developed intentionally. It requires you to create space between what happens outside of you and what happens inside of you, so that you can choose clarity over chaos, direction over disruption, and growth over the emotional flare-ups that are so easy to fall into when life feels overwhelming. The world often pushes you into situations that make you feel cornered, as if you have only 2 seconds to decide who you are and what your values mean in that moment. It can be a sudden argument, a harsh message, an unexpected betrayal, a weave of criticism, a mistake that catches you off guard, or even something as simple as someone raising their voice when all you wanted was a moment of peace. The pressure to react quickly can feel like an instinct, but it is actually a trap, because haste often blinds you. When you respond too fast, you respond from your emotional wounds instead of your wisdom. You defend yourself from a place of fear instead of strength. You speak from the surface instead from the depths of your understanding. And each time you fall into that cycle, you reinforce the idea that you must always be on guard, always ready for conflict, always bracing for impact. But the truth is that you don't need to live that way. Calmness is not weakness. Silence is not surrender. Delay is not avoidance. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause long enough to regain ownership of your inner world before you allow anyone else to influence what comes next. People often think that strength is shown through confrontation, but real strength is shown through emotional mastery, the ability to hold yourself steady when others lose control, the ability to control your words when your heart is shaking, the ability to walk away from a fight that does not deserve your energy, and the ability to choose peace even when anger is the easiest option. This is not about suppressing emotions, nor is it about pretending that nothing affects you. It is about understanding your emotions so deeply that you become the one who guides them, instead of letting them guide you. Life will continue to present you with storms, with difficult personalities, with unpredictable moments, and with situations that test the limits of your patience. But if you commit to mastering your inner landscape, you free yourself from being controlled by every external disturbance. The more you practice slowing down internally, the more you begin to realize that your peace is not something fragile that others can break. It becomes something durable that you protect with intention. This strength allows you to move through the world not as a prisoner of your reactions, but as a guardian of your own clarity. As you grow, you begin to realize that not every situation requires your energy. Not every comment deserves a reply. Not every confrontation needs to escalate. And not every attack needs to be fought. Some things dissolve on their own when you refuse to fuel them. Some battles lose their meaning the moment you step back and see the larger picture. Some negativity is simply not your burden to carry. And yet, choosing not to react does not mean you are passive. It means you are selective. It means you are wise enough to preserve your emotional well-being. It means you are mature enough to understand that your mental clarity is far more valuable than proving a point. You learn that the strongest people are not those who fight the most battles, but those who choose their battles carefully. And that choice, simple yet profound, is what separates a reactive life from an intentional one. Because when you respond instead of react, you reclaim the steering wheel of your life.
In the quiet aftermath of every challenge, once the emotional waves settle and the mind regains its clarity, there comes a moment where you begin to see the deeper meaning behind everything you have endured. Life is not simply a collection of random events thrown at you without purpose. It is a continuous unfolding, a sequence of lessons shaped precisely for your growth, your maturity, and your inner evolution. Every misunderstanding, every rushed decision, every moment where you felt pressured by circumstances or people, all of it contributes to the construction of a wiser version of yourself. And as you look back, you start to realize that the most transformative moments were not the ones where everything went smoothly, but the ones where you were tested. Those moments pushed you to look inward, to confront the emotional patterns that held you captive, and to slowly rebuild your internal world with intention instead of impulse. You learn to appreciate the value of patience, not because the world slowed down for you, but because you learned how to slow yourself down in a world that never stops moving. And from this place of understanding, you began to see that your power has never been in controlling the world around you. It has always been in mastering the world within you. There comes a point where you begin to understand that peace is not something the world gives you. It is something you cultivate, protect, and choose every single day. And this choice becomes more important as you grow, because the more self-aware you become, the more you realize how much energy you used to waste on things that did not deserve a second of your time. You stop trying to change people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop giving your emotions away to situations that are unworthy of your inner balance. You stop letting anger guide your words because you know the damage is speaking from wounds instead of wisdom. And with this new perspective, the world begins to feel different, not because it has become easier, but because you have become stronger, calmer, more composed, and more connected to the version of yourself who refuses to be controlled by chaos. You start responding to life with a sense of grounded presence instead of reacting out of fear or frustration. You start recognizing that not every battle deserves your involvement. Not every noise deserves your attention. Not every provocation deserves your response. And this realization becomes a turning point where inner freedom finally begins to take root. Even when life becomes heavy and unpredictable, you learn that you always have a choice. You can either feed the storm or you can nourish the calm. You can let external chaos dictate your behavior, or you can become the one who sets the emotional tone for your own life. This awareness turns into discipline, and that discipline becomes a form of spiritual maturity. You start walking through the world with a deeper sense of responsibility toward your own peace. You understand that emotional intelligence is not just a skill, it is an act of self-respect. Choosing restraint is not cowardice, it is wisdom refined through experience. Choosing silence is not avoidance, it is mastery. Choosing patience is not weakness, it is strength refined through experience. And within this understanding lies the greatest lesson of all. You do not need to react to everything that demands your reaction. You are not a puppet to the world's noise. You are not required to respond to every invitation to conflict. You do not need to prove yourself to anyone who has already decided not to see your value. Your life is too precious, your mind too powerful, your heart too meaningful to waste on anything that compromises your inner peace. And at this point in your journey, at this moment of reflection, understanding, and growth, I want to pause and express something deeply important. Thank you. Thank you for listening, for learning, for growing, for being here, and for giving your time and presence to the space. Your willingness to reflect, to evolve, and to understand yourself more deeply is not something small. It is a sign of inner strength, the kind of strength that many people never learn to cultivate. And because you've chosen to walk this path of emotional awareness and clarity, I want to say it clearly and sincerely. I appreciate you. Your journey matters. Your growth matters. Your inner peace matters. And with that appreciation, I also want to extend a gentle, meaningful invitation, one that supports this community of growth, reflection, and spiritual awareness. If you haven't already, I encourage you to subscribe to ARS Spiritual Vibes, a space filled for souls who seek clarity, depth, and a higher understanding of themselves and the world around them. By subscribing, you not only support the message, but you also become part of a community that values wisdom, emotional maturity, and inner peace. And for those who have already subscribed, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Your support is a reminder that there are many people in the world who choose growth over chaos, reflection over reaction, and purpose over impulse. May your journey continue to be filled with light, strength, and a deeper understanding of who you truly are becoming.